Each year, as the leaves turn and the nights grow longer, a festive spirit takes hold, marking the arrival of one of the most beloved and mysterious holidays, Halloween. But have you ever wondered where this celebration of spooks and sweets originated? Why do we carve pumpkins, dress in costumes, and roam the night in search of treats? Did you know that Halloween's vibrant traditions are tied not only to ancient pagan customs, but also to Christian observances? Tonight, we explore the hidden roots and arcane traditions of Halloween. Hello, timeless travelers. Today on Salazar's Timeless Treasures, we're going to unearth the ancient roots and arcane traditions of Halloween. From the Celtic fires of Samhain to the eerie tales of Scotland and Wales. Join me as we journey through time to uncover the hidden myths and lesser-known facts that shaped Halloween into the vibrant holiday we know and celebrate today. We will reveal lesser-known facts throughout this journey all the way to the end. Our story begins over 2,000 years ago in the mystic lands of the ancient Celts, where the line between the living and the dead blurred on one fateful night each year. Every year, as the crisp air of October heralds the coming of winter, a historic festival cloaks the night with mystery and ancient traditions. Have you ever wondered who first celebrated what we now call Halloween? The origins of Halloween can be traced back over 2,000 years to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, pronounced Samhain, celebrated on the night of October 31st, in regions now known as Ireland, the United Kingdom, and northern France. This festival marked the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter, which the Celts considered the darker half of the year. Samhain was one of the most significant festivals on the Celtic calendar because it was believed that the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred on this night. During Samhain, the Celts believed that the ghosts of the dead returned to earth. This presence made it easier for the Druids, or Celtic priests, to make predictions about the future, which was an important source of comfort and direction during the long, dark winter. To commemorate the event, the Druids built huge sacred bonfires, where the people gathered to burn crops and animals as sacrifices to the Celtic deities. During the celebration, the Celts wore costumes, typically consisting of animal heads and skins, and attempted to tell each other's fortunes. Who were these mysterious figures known as the Druids, and why did they build massive bonfires during Samhain? The Druids were the priests and spiritual leaders of the Celtic tribes, revered as mediators between the gods and the people. On Samhain, they built enormous bonfires. But what was the purpose behind these blazing beacons? The Druids believed these fires possessed protective and cleansing powers, as the Celts thought that spirits roamed the earth on Samhain. The bonfires served as a shield, warding off evil spirits and preventing them from harming the living. But these fires were not just for protection. The bonfires served as a central part of sacrificial ceremonies, where the Celts offered crops and animals to their deities, particularly to appease them and ensure the community's survival through the winter months. These sacrifices were made in the hope of gaining favor with the gods to secure a bountiful harvest in the following year. The fires provided light during the darkest time of the year and were seen as a guide for good spirits and ancestors to return to the earthly realm. The light and heat from the bonfires were symbols of endurance through the upcoming winter. The gathering around the bonfire fostered a sense of community and unity among the members of the tribe. It was a time for communal eating, drinking, and bonding, as well as for druids to perform rituals and tell fortunes. The Celts would extinguish the fires in their homes during this significant festival. But why? This act was deeply symbolic, representing the end of the old year and the beginning of a new one. By extinguishing their hearth fires, the Celts were engaging in a ritual of purification, preparing for the renewal that comes with the new year. Once their personal hearth fires were extinguished, the Celts would relight them from the communal bonfire, a practice that fostered unity and brought the blessings of the deities upon each household. This act also served as spiritual protection, safeguarding the home from malevolent spirits wandering on Samhain. In Wales, the celebration of Nos Calan Gaeaf echoes these ancient Samhain traditions with unique local customs. Have you heard of the Colcirth or the fearful Year Hwch Du Guta? Families in Wales would build a Colcirth, a communal bonfire much like their Celtic ancestors. They placed stones around the fire with their names, a form of divination to predict who would survive the coming year. Meanwhile, the tale of Year Hwch Du Guta, a tailless black sow, added a layer of fright to the night as she roamed the land with her head under her arm, haunting crossroads and churchyards. And then there's the eerie custom of Eirior Dalin, where individuals would eat a salty oatmeal cake at a crossroads, then throw the plate over their shoulder, expecting to see a witch. These Welsh traditions show the depth and richness of the Celtic influence on Halloween, preserving ancient beliefs in modern festivities. Did you know the term Halloween itself derives from All Hallows Eve, the evening before All Hallows Saints' Day? How was and who transformed the ancient festival of Samhain into the Halloween we celebrate today? The Roman and Christian influences on the Celtic festival of Samhain played a pivotal role in transforming it into the Halloween we recognize today. Here's how these influences were integrated over time. Starting around 43 AD, the Roman Empire started expanding. It not only conquered lands, but also cultures, absorbing the Celts and blending their Samhain traditions with Roman customs. Two such influences were the festivals of Feralia and the celebration of Pomona. Feralia was an ancient Roman festival that commemorated the passing of the dead. It was one of the last festivals in the Roman religious calendar and was observed on February 21st. The name Feralia is derived from the Latin word feriae, meaning holidays, specifically referring to days set aside for religious observances. The origins of Feralia are not well documented, but it was an important day dedicated to the solemn rites of honoring the deceased. It marked the close of the 9-day festival known as the Parentalia, which was devoted entirely to family ancestors. During Parentalia, families visited the graves of their ancestors, bringing offerings such as wreaths, grains, salt, bread soaked in wine, and violets. They would also pour libations of milk, wine, honey, and oil. Ovid, the Roman poet, provides one of the few detailed descriptions of Feralia in his work Fasti, a poetic calendar of the Roman year. Pomona is a figure from ancient Roman mythology and religion, known as the goddess of fruit trees, gardens, and orchards. Her name is derived from the Latin word pomum, which means fruit, specifically orchard fruit. Unlike many other Roman gods and goddesses, Pomona was not borrowed from Greek mythology, but was instead a uniquely Roman deity who played a significant role in the agricultural rites of ancient Rome. Pomona was honored with a specific festival called the Vertumnalia, held on August 13th in honor of both Pomona and Vertumnus, the god of seasons, plant growth, gardens, and fruit trees. Vertumnus was also Pomona's consort, and their relationship symbolized the growth and change inherent in nature. The festival celebrated their union and its beneficial effects on agriculture and horticulture. The Christian influence on the Celtic festival of Samhain was significant and strategic, as the early church sought to reshape the pagan landscapes of Europe, including the British Isles and Ireland, where Samhain was deeply entrenched. This transformation involved overlaying Christian meanings on existing pagan festivals to ease the transition to Christianity and facilitate wider acceptance among the local populations. The most direct Christian influence on Samhain came through the establishment of All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. All Saints' Day. Also known as All Hallows' Day, this feast day was initially celebrated on May 13th when Pope Boniface IV consecrated the Pantheon in Rome to the Virgin Mary and all the martyrs in 609 AD. However, in the 8th century, Pope Gregory III moved All Saints' Day to November 1st and expanded the festival to include all saints, not just martyrs. This date more closely aligned with Samhain and was likely chosen to Christianize the popular pagan celebrations and diminish the pagan rituals associated with the end of the harvest. Later, in 1000 AD, the church added All Souls' Day on November 2nd. This day was dedicated to praying for the souls of the faithful departed, particularly those in purgatory. The timing and nature of this feast were seen as another way to Christianize the Celtic festival, which was associated with honoring the dead. The church's strategy was to incorporate elements of pagan festivals into Christian celebrations to make the new religion more palatable and familiar to convert populations. This practice, known as syncretism, was effective in merging Christian and pagan traditions, reducing cultural resistance by providing continuity in festive practices. Many of the traditional Samhain practices, such as bonfires, feasting, and costumes, were adapted into the Christian celebrations. For example, bonfires, which had significance in pagan rituals for warding off evil spirits, were reinterpreted in a Christian context with prayers and blessings by priests. As the night of Halloween unfolds, streets fill with ghosts, goblins, and fairy tale characters. But why do we don costumes and wander from door to door seeking treats? This chapter delves into the enchanting history of these practices, tracing their origins from ancient rites to the playful activities we know today. Trick-or-treating, too, has ancient roots, evolving from the medieval practice of souling in Britain. On All Souls' Day, November 2nd, the poor would go door to door, offering prayers for the dead in exchange for soul cakes. Small round cakes meant to symbolize a soul being freed from purgatory. This practice was particularly prevalent in England and Ireland. In some parts of Scotland and Ireland, Halloween involved baking cakes or breads with an animal shape like a cat that represented the spirit world. In Scotland and Ireland, there was also a tradition called mumming or guising, where people, especially children, would dress in disguise and perform songs, poems, or jokes in exchange for fruit, nuts, or coins. This occurred during various festivals, including Samhain and Christmas. The influx of immigrants, particularly the Irish and Scots, to North America in the 19th century brought these traditions with them. As these customs mingled with American celebrations of Halloween, they began to resemble the trick-or-treating we know today. By the 1920s and 1930s, the practice of dressing up and going door to door on Halloween became more organized. Communities began to encourage this activity as a safe and controlled way to celebrate, which helped to minimize the mischief and vandalism that had become common on Halloween night. For instance, in the 1970s, the U.S. government delayed daylight saving time until after Halloween to provide children more daylight for trick-or-treating, hoping to reduce accidents. The term trick or treat. The actual term trick or treat was first used in America, appearing in print for the first time in Alberta, Canada in 1927. It gradually spread and was popularized by the 1950s in the U.S. This was due in part to the post-war baby boom, which led to an increase in children participating in Halloween. The phrase trick or treat itself didn't become a staple until the 1940s, when it was popularized across the U.S. This catchy rhyme encapsulated a simple choice for householders: give a treat or be on the receiving end of a harmless prank. As these traditions crossed into America with Irish and Scottish immigrants, they morphed into what children eagerly anticipate today: dressing in costumes and going door to door, asking for treats with the phrase trick or treat, a custom that became widely popular across North America by the mid-20th century. Why do we wear costumes on Halloween? The tradition of dressing in costume or guising during Halloween has its roots deeply embedded in the festival of Samhain. The Celts believed that on this night, the boundary between the living and the spirit world was at its thinnest. Disguises were worn as a means to ward off or even impersonate spirits, blending in with them to avoid harm. The primary purpose of the disguises was to protect the wearer from being recognized by malevolent spirits. By donning masks and costumes, Celts hoped to avoid being harmed or harassed by ghosts who might want to settle old scores. The disguises typically consisted of masks and costumes made from animal skins and heads. The use of these materials was also symbolic, invoking the animal's power and characteristics. The choice of a particular animal could reflect the wearer's desired traits to embody or convey during the festivities, such as the strength of a bull or the swiftness of a deer. Disguises were often part of larger rituals involving dancing, feasting, and the lighting of bonfires. Alongside wearing disguises, the Celts made offerings of food and drink to the spirits to appease them and ensure the safety of the community. This was also a night for prophecies, where druids would try to predict the future. Disguises could play a role in these prophecies by facilitating communication with the spirit world as the wearers took on the visages of the spiritual entities. As Samhain traditions merged with Roman and later Christian practices, the original purposes of the disguises evolved into more light-hearted expressions seen in today's Halloween costumes. What began as a serious method to protect against real or perceived supernatural threats gradually turned into an opportunity for festivity and play, allowing people to explore different identities and fantasies safely. Christian reinterpretation of pagan rituals. The wearing of costumes and the themes of death and the supernatural during Samhain were gradually melded into the Christian observance of All Hallows' Eve. Costumes of saints, angels, and devils became popular among children participating in these festivities, morphing into the varied and imaginative costumes we see in modern Halloween. Did you know that the traditional Halloween colors have specific meanings? Orange represents the fall harvest, while black signifies the coming winter darkness. As Halloween night casts its spell across the land, flickering jack-o'-lanterns guard doorsteps, and laughter echoes from lively games of bobbing for apples. But where did these cherished traditions originate, and how have they become integral to our Halloween festivities? The evolution of jack-o'-lanterns is a fascinating journey that starts with ancient traditions and ends with the pumpkin carvings that are synonymous with Halloween today. Here's how the jack-o'-lantern has transformed over the centuries. The original jack-o'-lantern was not a pumpkin, but rather a turnip or other root vegetables, like beets and potatoes. The practice began in Ireland and is tied to the legend of Stingy Jack. According to the myth, Jack was a deceitful blacksmith who tricked the devil multiple times to avoid his due in the afterlife. When Jack died, he was denied entry into both heaven and hell. The devil mockingly tossed Jack an ember from the fires of hell to light his way through the perpetual night. Jack placed the ember in a hollowed-out turnip, creating the first jack-o'-lantern. Originally, the carving of turnips and other root vegetables in Ireland and Scotland was part of the Samhain festival to ward off evil spirits, or according to some interpretations, to represent spirits or goblins. On Halloween night, people place the glowing jack-o'-lanterns in windows or near doors to scare away Stingy Jack and other wandering evil spirits, or they use them to light the way for good spirits and ancestors. The tradition of making jack-o'-lanterns at Halloween was brought to America by Irish immigrants in the 19th century. Fleeing the potato famine in their homeland, they brought their traditions but found the native pumpkin to be a far more suitable medium for carving than turnips due to its size, availability, and ease of carving. Once introduced in America, the carving of pumpkins quickly became integral to Halloween celebrations throughout the country. The jack-o'-lantern was popularized further by Halloween stories and poems in American literature, and eventually became a symbol of Halloween itself. Local competitions for carved pumpkins and widespread community participation made jack-o'-lanterns a staple of American Halloween decor. Today, jack-o'-lanterns are a creative outlet for both amateur and professional artists alike, leading to a variety of carving styles and techniques that range from simple traditional faces to elaborate and detailed sculptures. They are a key component of Halloween decorations, often accompanied by innovations such as using different lighting, carving tools, and even integrating technology for animated effects. The evolution of the jack-o'-lantern is a prime example of how a simple cultural practice can evolve, adapt, and become embedded in the celebrations of an entirely different society, transforming in meaning and method but retaining its core purpose of marking the season and lighting the dark nights of Halloween. Turning to a lighter tradition, bobbing for apples has its roots in the Roman invasion of Britain, where the conquering army merged their celebration of Pomona, the goddess of fruit and orchards, with traditional Celtic festivals. The apple, Pomona's symbol, became associated with prosperity and abundance. The practice of apple bobbing is often connected to the Roman festival honoring Pomona, the goddess of fruit trees, gardens, and orchards. The Romans celebrated Pomona's festival with games and rituals related to fruits, particularly apples, given her association with orchard fruit. When the Romans occupied Celtic lands, their customs merged with local traditions, especially during Samhain. Samhain was a time for divination activities, and many of these rituals included using apples. For instance, apples would be used in practices to predict one's future spouse or fortunes for the coming year. The act of bobbing for apples might have been a derivative of these divination games. Participants would attempt to catch floating apples in a basin of water using only their mouths, with the first to bite into an apple being the next allowed to marry. In some parts of Ireland, Halloween was seen as a time of romantic predictions. Various games and customs were designed to help young people find their future spouses. For example, barmbrack, a type of fruitcake, contained various tokens that could predict the eater's future, including a ring for marriage and a coin for wealth. In some parts of Ireland, Halloween was sometimes referred to as Snap Apple Night, after a game that involved trying to bite an apple suspended on a string. Another game involved apples floating in water, predicting romance depending on who could bite an apple first. Bobbing for apples became a popular game of skill and luck, believed to predict the future of romantic relationships for the participants. It's a playful remnant of these ancient divination practices, now transformed into a fun activity at Halloween parties. Every Halloween, as dusk falls and shadows lengthen, the veil between our world and the realm of the supernatural thins. Have you ever wondered where the creatures that roam this night come from, or how they became such enduring symbols of our Halloween celebrations? This is the night when mythical creatures of the night roam free. Join me as we delve into the dark corners of folklore to uncover the mysterious origins of the most iconic creatures that haunt our Halloween festivities. Vampires, creatures of the night thirsty for the blood of the living, trace their origins to Eastern European folklore. Immortalized by Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula, vampires embody themes of immortality and horror, creeping into Halloween as figures of both fear and fascination. On this night, they rise from their coffins, a reminder of the chilling grip they hold over our collective imagination. Next, we encounter the werewolves, humans cursed to transform into wolves under the full moon. This myth, found in many cultures, became especially prominent in medieval Europe. The transformation aligns with the Halloween aesthetic, symbolizing the untamed, primal nature that lies within, released into the night. From the misty shores of Ireland comes the banshee, whose mournful wail foretells death. These female spirits are particularly active during Halloween, when the boundary between life and death is blurred. Their cries, though eerie, are deeply rooted in Irish and Scottish folklore, echoing the ancient Celtic past. Ghosts, the souls of the dead unable to find peace, are perhaps as old as time itself. Across cultures, ghosts return on Halloween, drawn back to the places they once knew, their stories told and retold in ghostly tales and haunted houses that pepper our landscapes each October. Witches, wielding magical powers, have been both revered and feared. From wise healers to agents of dark forces, witches have been a central figure of Halloween, symbolizing the deep human connection with magic and the supernatural. The witch trials of Salem have particularly cemented their association with Halloween in America. Then there are the mischievous goblins and flesh-eating ghouls, arising from European and Arabian folklore, respectively. These creatures thrive in the shadows of Halloween, ready to wreak havoc or drag the unwary back with them into the grave. Guarding buried treasures or prowling crossroads, hellhounds and demons remind us that Halloween is a night when even the gates of hell may yield their horrors. The black dogs of British folklore and demonic entities challenge the brave and the foolhardy alike. Finally, the headless horseman, a ghostly figure from European folklore immortalized by Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, rides again on Halloween. His search for his lost head reminds us of the night's dark humor and its spectral allure. As we celebrate Halloween, the legends of these nocturnal beings resonate through our celebrations, from costumes to stories, enriching this spooky night with their ancient, mysterious presence. So tonight, as you don your costume and step into the dark, remember the stories of these mythical creatures. They are the true spirits of Halloween, each with a tale to chill the bone and thrill the heart. Which of these creatures haunts your Halloween the most? Share your stories and stay tuned for more tales from the crypt. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and keep the lanterns lit. Happy Halloween! As our journey through the hidden roots and rich traditions of Halloween comes to a close, we've seen how this beloved holiday has evolved from ancient Celtic firesides to the spectacular celebrations we enjoy today. We've uncovered the mystical origins of our favorite traditions, from ghostly jack-o'-lanterns lighting up the night to the spirited games of apple bobbing that bring joy and laughter to our gatherings. We've delved into the night where mythical creatures roam, exploring how vampires, witches, and even the elusive headless horseman continue to captivate our imaginations. Each story, each tradition is a thread in the vast tapestry of history that makes Halloween not just a night of fun, but a living part of our collective heritage. Samhainophobia is the term for a pathological fear of Halloween, stemming from the fears associated with its superstitions and folklore. The famous magician Harry Houdini died on Halloween in 1926. This has led to various Halloween seances over the years, where fans and followers attempt to contact his spirit. If you've enjoyed this exploration into the shadows and tales of Halloween, don't forget to like, share, and comment below with your own Halloween experiences or favorite folklore. Subscribe and turn on notifications to join us on more timeless treasures hunts where history and myth come alive. Your engagement helps us uncover more stories to share, making each discovery a shared adventure. Thank you for traveling with me, fellow timeless travelers. Keep the lanterns lit, and may your Halloween be as enchanting as the tales we've shared tonight. Happy Halloween!